Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. The Latino Chamber of Commerce is very happy and very thankful of your participation today. This is the first session of a series of 4 different real estate or commercial property topics. So this is we're gonna have it 4 different sessions throughout the year, and each session will be separated by a month or so, and also we will be providing the sessions in both in English and Spanish. Today's session is obviously the English version, and next week we will have the Spanish version of it for the people that are interested in going through the materials in Spanish. So if you know anybody that would like to participate, please invite them, send them the link, and they will be able to be part of this very important series of commercial real estate topics. The first one is the due diligence, and we have 3 other 3 topics in terms of we're going to be covering some other specific topics in I think multifamilies, and we're going to cover also the financing of it. Luis is going to be able to provide you with a little more specific information on the other topics. One thing that I like to invite you is to participate on all the sessions. Why? Because for the people that would participate in all of these sessions, and obviously we have record of who is participating every single session, we want to provide a certificate of participation, so you can have a nice, beautiful certificate that you have participated in these educational webinars with the Latino Chamber of Commerce, that will give you one more credential to put on your resume, and it will show your business partners and the people that are interested in your operations and in your business, that you have one more credential, and that you've been trained in commercial real estate, that you have a little more information about the negotiation process and all the processes and the resources available for you. So I invite everybody to participate in all of these sessions. I don't want to keep talking about anything else. The only thing is that there is a chat button at the bottom of your screen. If you have a question for Luis, just go ahead and type it in there, and Luis will address your question at a convenience time. Also, I want to just read a little bit of Luis Olvera, our presenter today, a little bit of his credentials. And he's a Minnesota residential and commercial real estate agent, and he's been active for over 15 years. He was a past director of membership at the National Hispanic Real Estate Professionals Twin Cities chapter, which is NAREP in short. Luis has over 18 years of experience in international business, in contracts, negotiations, development of subsidiaries, exports, imports, and a lot of other things. And recently, and I want to share this with you because recently he got a new certification, and now he's a certified real estate negotiator. So Luis, congratulations on your new certificate and your new credential, and please share with us all about it, and you can take the microphone and continue with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Fabio. As always, it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be able to share a little bit of knowledge in terms of commercial real estate. As you mentioned before, this year we are going to present 8 webinars, 4 in English and 4 in Spanish. Today we have the first event, which is the due diligence in English. Next week is going to be the same topic, but in Spanish. Then the next one is going to be lease or renting commercial real estate. we're going to dive very, very deep into the lease contract, the different kinds of leases or kinds of types of leases in commercial real estate with option to buy, et cetera, et cetera. The following one is going to be buying commercial real estate, the different programs available, whether it's with Social Security or with ITIN, the financial aid that exists. Very few people know that, for instance, for multifamilies, traditionally is 20 to 25% down. Well, there is a program that very few people know that is 5% down. In Minneapolis, there is a 2% interest loan for 40 years. That's also a very hidden gem or gold. And we're going to study and analyze each of those programs. City programs are also available sometimes. And also, we're going to see the different ways to buy real estate, whether it's with SBA or conventional, etc. And finally, in the last series, we are going to talk a little bit about the 1031 exchange, or how to postpone or not to pay taxes, real estate taxes of profits, or defer rather, when it is a sale of commercial real estate. Normally, the majority of people are familiar or know or have heard about 1031 exchange, but guess what? There are more programs available, and we are going to study not all of them, but few of them in a little deeper approach. So without telling you guys a little about this peer program, I am going to come back to center and talk about due diligence. First of all, I would like to have a little bit of housekeeping. It is my suggestion that do not write whatever is in the transparency, because Fabio is going to upload it in the Latino Chamber of Commerce website. So it's going to be there forever, as well as we have 14 webinars already uploaded. So please try to pay attention of what I'm saying, because I think that you will have a little bit more grasp of the concepts in that way. As Fabio said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to write it in the chat. I will be very happy to answer them. If I know the answer, I am not Google, but I will try to answer. And finally, I would like to comment, I am not a lawyer, a real estate lawyer. I am a CPA, MBA, but I do not do accountancy, and I do not do taxes. So I will just talk a little bit about concepts of accounting, concepts of taxes, but I will not, and please do not take that as a legal advice, okay? Having said that, let's go and make the rabbit hole. Let's start by saying, what is the due diligence? And before that, what I would like to do is general information, how the system is going to work today. We're going to go from the universe, the wide, big concepts, to the particular concepts, okay? So let's start with the definition of DD, or due diligence. From here on, I'm going to say DD. DD is basically, guys and ladies, the steps that a professional, whether it's you or we are going to see who other people perform the due diligence, take to thoroughly, systematically, very, very deep, verify the entity, obviously commercial real estate, a warehouse, a multifamily, etc., before initiating any business arrangement, meaning before signing the PA, before signing the lease contract, because in that way, we're going to minimize the risk of having a very bad situation after signature. I have had horror stories that people say, don't worry, everything is fine. You signed the dotted line. They did not hire a commercial realtor, and the people that I will show you who also help us, and they are down the water. And then they cannot really legally go out of the contract unless they run, and you know what, catch me if you can. So having said that, let's see who is the guys and girls that do the due diligence. Normally, in the perfect world, is a commercial real estate agent or commercial broker that perform the majority, very key word, majority of the DD. When? Well, from the moment that is the first interview with the client, that is the moment that the commercial real estate agent with key questions will start the due diligence, discovering what is the position of the buyer or the tenant, what budget we are going to have or we have, what are the options for financing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where we start to verify before even thinking about how big is the warehouse or how many units or doors, we call it, is going to be the multifamily, no? So those kind of questions are very important for us to determine what kind of a cow we have. The cow is going to give 50 gallons of milk, or is it going to give 1 gallon of milk? That is the size of the real estate that we are going to buy or rent. Other professional organizations are also key ingredients for the DD. The first one, obviously, is the bank. As I always say to my clients, if we don't have the cow, we don't have the milk. And the milk is the one that makes things go round. So it's very important to have an ally with the financial institution. Financial institution obviously is going to require certain working papers, and also they are going to do due diligence on the property. They are going to want to know what kind of property is it, if it is 1930 built or is new construction, if it is in an interesting area or zone, opportunity zone or no opportunity zone. Those kind of things also are part of the DD performed by the financial institutions, are also with the real estate agent. Needless to say, we are going to be hand to hand with all of these professionals, and we're going to perform with them the DD. Other very important, as I commented at the beginning, the tax, the accountants, we're going to see why in a few minutes. Inspectors. We as realtors have to have like a supermarket approach. When you go to a supermarket, what do you have? You have fruits, vegetables, milk, you have paper towel, you have detergents, you have meat, etc., etc. Well, the commercial realtor also has to have all kinds of inspectors. For instance, we even have locators. I don't know if you know what is a locator. Locator is a person or a company that we hire in order to locate where are the pipelines of Excel of the gas companies, because believe me, you don't want to poke into Excel piping. They are going to be a little angry at you, and the suit is going to be very interesting. So we hire a locator before poking the earth. We have structural engineers. I had the opportunity to have a transaction with my broker. It was a big multifamily, 7th floor high. We have to have a structural engineer because the building was 1940. And believe me, after 80 years of existence in this land, maybe the foundation is not up to par. So we hired that guy. Also, very important to go and visit is the city marshal of the fire department. God forbids, and that I have a bad experience. We bought a restaurant, and 5 years prior, they had a fire. And of course, the owner at the time hired a non-qualified constructor or repairman. They repair basically with Play-Doh and with soap the cracks. And when the inspector and the marshal came, guess what? They say, you know what? You're not going to open your business unless you open that part of the wall, you pull permit, you fix it, and you call me, and it's going to cost you time and money. Guess what? We lost 3 months of no business, paying rent, a disaster. So before that, that's exactly the topic of today. We have to do all these different approaches before signing a contract. We have to go about the city inspectors, county, if necessary, sometimes federal. In the case of dispensaries, careful. Marijuana, they don't like it, but the city and the state likes it. So we have a situation there. We have to see to what extent the laws are applicable to each city or state. Title companies, needless to say, if the title is clear, is able to pass hands to the new owner, the new owner of the title, or if it is cloudy, the classic one is the lien, the mechanical lien, which means the property has a suit because the owner didn't pay the provider. So we have to clear that. Obviously, commercial real estate attorneys are a key ingredient of the DD. I had a few weeks ago, actually, I had the opportunity to hire a commercial lawyer because in the lease, which by the way was 57 pages long, the newspaper letter size, even my broker and I could not understand several clauses. So we hired a lawyer who, of course, he translated into familiar language. We in turn went to the client. We understood what the hell was going on. And after $1,500, we made a very good investment. Why? Because we had to negotiate those clauses to the benefit of my client. And finally, the client itself. The client itself has to put their act together. They have to gather all paperwork. Very important in any business transaction in life, time is of the essence. Please don't leave anything for tomorrow if you can do it today. Even if it's in the night, the day has 24 hours, please do it now. Okay, so a very nice saying is, what is the best use of my time now? Okay, so for that, let's go to page 4, excuse me, to page 5. But before, I would like to make a very interesting definition of what's a client. Do you know what's a client versus a customer? According to real estate definition, a client is a person or a company, could be, that has signed a fiduciary agreement. So we have a fiduciary relationship with the client. A customer does not have that, therefore, each of the parties look for their own interest. And 99% of the times, the customer doesn't have representation. When you go to Macy's to buy a t-shirt, you don't have to have representation. But when you go and buy a multifamily, you have representation, and that representation is with a fiduciary relationship. And what is a fiduciary? What are the elements of the fiduciary relation? Well, let's go back to the acronym old CAR. O for obedience, L for loyalty, D for disclosure, C for confidentiality, A for accountability, and R for reasonable care. Those are the elements that we realtors ought to give to our client. Let's start digging deeper into the rabbit hole, and let's see what is the DD for rental properties. And of course, you know, as you will open your mind, you will see, oh, this applies for buying, oh, this applies for renting. This does not apply for renting, but this applies for rental, and so on and so forth. Because otherwise I will be here all day and we will not finish, okay? So, as we said before, DD will avoid unnecessary conflicts and challenges before making the final signature. Very, very important. And I like the number 10, so we are going to dive in. And first of all, when you're going to rent, whether it's a warehouse or a multifamily, let's have an assessment of the location. We do what is called the comparative market analysis. In commercial is different than in residential because there are not two exact or very, very, very similar multifamilies in 1 mile around. So we go a little bit a bigger area, but we have a little bit of comparison in that situation. Parking, very, very important. For instance, when you are going to buy or rent, again, buy or rent, a car shop, because according to the laws of the city, it has to have certain number of parking lots per square foot of the car shop. Or in my case, I had experience, we could grandfather because there were like 6 parking spaces and the place was 4,000 square feet. So obviously today that doesn't work. So we have to grandfather that property. Be very careful with the parking, very, very important. Physical inspection, we are not inspectors, but we are realtors and we can see we are a little bit educated about what is going on with the physical properties of the property in question. Home organization association, it is not home, but sometimes when you are renting an office, it is a condo, and you have to be very careful with the rules. Some owners like to have a pet with them. Well, guess what? In this association, is not allowed to have pets. So very, very careful with those little things. Environmental issues, as we are going to go deeper into this topic, very careful with phase 1, phase 2. I will talk about that. And then obviously there is no property that I have found in 18 years that is a perfect stage. All of them have to have conditioner, repairs, replacement. Please, please, please contract a certified construction builder, repairman, whatever you want to call it, but with a license. Because it's better to spend a little more today than, as I explained to you, you spend 3 months and a lot of headaches. Evaluate the lease agreement. We're going to talk in depth about leases in a little bit, and we are going to have a seminar, webinar with specifically with leases. Very, very careful with the camps. I had an opportunity to have a big deal in renting, and after signature, the listing agent came to us and said, "Oh, you know what? We forgot to include the electricity. And but no problem, it's going to be like $1,000 a month." So we really had a situation there. So be very, very, very careful with the camps. It's common area maintenance. We have to check all the permits. Again, there are some instances, for instance, I have had this bad situation in which I have a client, they want to rent a strip mall, it's a Mexican restaurant, and guess what? There is already Chipotle, McDonald's, Wendy's. Guess what? No restaurants allowed here. So we're not going to have a permit for my friend's restaurant. So be very careful about the permits allowed. And of course, the insurance options. Very, very, very important. The difference between insurance for a multifamily, warehouse, or a bar, restaurant bar with hard liquor. That is going to go to the roof in terms of price. But a warehouse that you are just using it for normal clothes, believe me, it's not going to be that expensive. Let's go a little bit deeper and let's talk about lease. What is the DD for lease? And what are the general terms of leases in real estate, commercial? Basically, there are three, but in practice, we can have 5, 7, or more. Normally, we go to triple net, which encompasses or has the 3 nets of the lease, which are the 3, well, the property taxes, the building insurance, and the CAM. I mentioned very careful which are the expenses that are covered in the CAM. You have to be very, very specific, whether it's the garbage or shared garbage or the proportional part of water, or you have your own water meter. All of those little things make very big difference at the end of the day. And in this case, the tenants are responsible for paying a proportional part or share of these CAMs in this kind of lease. The triple N is quoted as follows normally. Let's say $30 per square feet, triple net with $6 per square foot of CAM included. Let's kind of use our brain a little bit instead of the calculator for a change. And let's say that the place that we're going to rent is 1,000 square feet. How much is going to be our monthly rent? Well, you multiply 30 plus 6 times 1,000 is 36,000. If you divide 36,000 divided by 12, it's $3,000 a month. This comes included and the base rent. So you pay 3,000 and you forget about everything if you read very careful the CAMs, okay? This is very traditional in restaurants. Normally, this kind of property, Walgreens, CVS, are triple net. Let's go to another variety of rent, and it's the full service gross, which of course it doesn't have this kind of CAMs included. It can have this, but not that. In this case, the full service gross, it's very, very popular in buildings and strip malls, okay? And in offices, basically, offices is very, very popular, and strip malls, okay? Why? Because in a strip mall, you want to have the tenant paying their own expenses, okay? And finally, the modified gross. As you probably have the idea, commercial real estate is less regulated than residential. So one day a client told me, well, you are in the wild, wild west. And yes, we are in the wild, wild west, which means that if you find a lease with modified gross, that means that everything goes. You can have the water included, but not the garbage. You can have the electricity shared, proportional to all the strip mall. And then obviously there's going to be the black sheep that says, but I don't consume electricity, etc., etc. So again, careful with the terms of the lease, okay? Other elements to consider when you are renting real estate. I'm going to go very brief because as I mentioned, in a month, we're going to talk 1 hour just in leases. This is tenant improvements is the amount that the landlord pays to condition the property. Is not to buy equipment, careful. It's just to condition the property. And normally what they do is they say, okay, I'm going to give you $12,000 and it's going to be very simple numbers. A 12-year lease, so I'm going to charge you $1,000 a year for the fact that you have to pay me the $12,000. So 1,000 divided by 12 is $88. So you pay $88 every month more in order for you to pay back the $12,000 that the landlord puts for conditioning. It's not free money, as I mentioned, so you have to be paying all the amount back. Good thing between you and me, it's no interest. So it's very, very nice. Free rent. Free rent is possible to obtain for cash allowance. Obviously, cash allowance is not to buy equipment or not to go to Australia or to go fishing. It's just to make improvements of the property in question. Have a client, had a restaurant, it was rent, and we got him $20 per foot free cash. Okay, so obviously there are conditions. He's not going to give you the money, the landlord in front. You have to prove that you pay over that amount, and then they will reimburse you. Okay, and you have to have a proof that you pay indeed that amount with invoices, etc. So the landlord says, okay, I am going to give you, to say something, $20,000. You are presenting to me $27,000 of invoices for the floor, for the painting, for the conditioning of the hood, what have you. And it's 27,000. Okay, here is a check for 20,000. And that's really very nice. Also, free rent. Normally, what we do is to ask the landlord for 2 or 3 months free rent. Again, careful, because they are going to charge you the CAM. Why? Because the CAM included, remember, the property taxes and the insurance. And the property taxes, no matter what, you have to pay every month until you die. So the landlord is going to say, okay, I will give you the free base rent, but you pay me CAMs for 2 months. And you say, excuse me, did I hear 3? And that is a very nice way to stretch for 3 months. I have got up to 3 months with 50,000 cash allowance, plus a little bit, I will not say the amount, but it was a very sizable amount of TI. Okay, it would be very nice to rent one of these guys. And let's go even deeper into the rabbit hole. Let's go now a kind of a combination of buying a business with real estate thereof. This is the general view, and then we're going to go deeper into it. Okay, and again, I like the number 10, so I put 10 different items in this checklist. This is a very, very, very important analysis that we realtors have to know how to do it. Okay, we have to have a good standing of the organization that we're going to buy, and that is basically good standing with the Secretary of State. It's very, very easy to get it, and that's no-brainer. Financial information, we're going to really talk a little bit about that. Physical assets, property, plant, and equipment. We have to check it. We have to see how many years old are they? Are they falling apart? Are they in a well status, maintenance, etc.? The real estate, we already talked a little bit about the physical approach, the inspectors, etc. Employees and employees benefit. How many employees they have? Are they 20 years old working with the company? Oops, it's going to be retirement. Is there a fund properly made and maintained to pay to these guys when they're retired? What is about the 401k? All of those nice things can be a very big detrimental for the business that we're going to buy if we don't check them out. License and permits, I mean, there is no brainer. We already talked about it. Environmental issues, if they have phase 1, phase 2, I want to see the reports. Even though it's a 300 pages report, the phase 1 and phase 2 each, at least they have a summary. And if not, you hire an environmental inspector and ask him or her to make a summary, 10 pages, in familiar words. Very, very good investment. Taxes, hey, Uncle Sam has to be your ally, not your enemy. You have to check all those nice papers and declarations. Material contracts, if you have, for instance, in a multifamily, if you have contracts with the laundry room, if you have contracts with the janitorial services in an office, etc., all of those contracts, you have consultants, marketing, social media contracts, all of those you have to read and learn what is the status of each of them. And obviously, if it is a restaurant, I will go there at lunchtime and ask the customers, how do you like the food? How many times a month you come to this place? Are you satisfied with the salsa? What is the service like? And even I will hire the secret clients, you know, those guys that they don't know that are going to make a summary of their experience to see how is the service and how is the quality of the food, etc., etc. Let's dive even deeper here and go for the physical review. Now we're going to go step by step. This is physical, and then is the checklist of that. Organizational structure. Do they have a manual of systems and procedures? I think it's very, very important nowadays to have a manual of systems and procedures. Or it's just because we have been doing this for 20 years and there is no other way. No, I think in 20 years, things have changed. So we have to have a up-to-date manual of systems. And guess what? We have to read it and we have to make questions. ISO. Are you familiar with the ISO, guys and girls? Let me tell you a little bit about the birds and the bees of ISO. The ISO is International Standard Organization. It was an organization that was born in Switzerland in 1947 after the Second World War. You remember Europe was basically destroyed. So they said, okay, you know what? Let's make this organization in order to make trade and commerce easier, but also to put emphasis in process optimization, safety, and quality across the board. The scope of ISO standards encompasses everything from manufacturing, technology, and food saving, or savings, safety, excuse me. This is very, very important. I had the opportunity to participate in the elaboration of ISO many years ago, and believe me, it's very, very useful to the company to have systems and procedures in place, and they are standardized. Always is the same. And of course, it changes over time because technology, etc., environment, issues, economy, etc. In Europe, which is the place that it was born, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of companies that have the ISO. And if you don't have ISO, they don't make business with you. End of story. So it's very important to ask, well, you have ISO? If not, hey, you put a feather in your hat. Let me tell you about the ISO. It's going to be very interesting to have ISO in your company, etc., etc. Physical assets and equipment, needless to say, you are going to make a physical inspection. You are not the expert in machines, but at least you're going to see that they are working. And if needed, why not? You hire an engineer, a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer to check the machinery. You know what? This machine is going to break down tomorrow. Ah, interesting. So we're going to start negotiating machinery here. Environmental issues, we have talked about it 3 times. Insurance coverage, believe me, is very, very important. When you are buying a restaurant, multifamily, or warehouse, the insurance is going to vary a lot. And when you're renting, you have to see what the landlord is covering and what the landlord requires you to cover inside or indoors, okay? The inspection of the roof, needless to say, you have to have a roof inspector. Foundation, I talk about the structural engineer. Mechanical and electrical, please contract the special guy for this kind of task. In the case of multifamily, the good and bad, no? The good is that I haven't had the good is that I have had opportunity to do physical inspection of a multifamily. The good is that it was 7 units. The bad is, imagine if you have 200 units or 300 units, guess what? You have to check each and all of them, especially the ones that the landlord said, no, unit 123 is better. Don't go there. That is the one that you want to see. Review the bills, obviously the utility bills. Very interesting, because as you know better than me, Minnesota has different climates in different parts of the year. So you would like to see the behavior of the utility bills, make an average, see if there is a program that you pay the same amount every month. Sometimes the peak hours increases the electricity price or fee. So, hey, why don't we check that? Request environmental assessment. I told you about the phase 1 and phase 2. Okay, let's go to the financial. General ledger. What kind of accounting system they have? Do they use QuickBooks, Peachtree, other means, Excel? Well, do they use Post-it for the accountancy? They don't have accountancy. Hey, let's talk about that in depth, no? Company credit report. I do not know you, but it is very important to see when you are buying a business to have a credit report of business. The same as a person that has a 720, I can qualify for a conventional. Well, guess what? The businesses also have a credit report. And the Mecca, the guru, the only one, the best, is a company by the name of Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet has 200 years of existence. It was born in the United States. And now let me tell you a little bit about what is Dun & Bradstreet. It's very, very important. It provides commercial data, analytics, and the insights of the business. It serves customers in government, industries such as communication, technology, financial services, retail, communication, manufacturing, and etc. It is often referred as D&B, and guess what? Their database contains only 500 million companies' business records worldwide. So it's very, very interesting to dig into D&B and see what kind of cow we're going to buy. Financial statements. Obviously, you want to have at least in this COVID era, 2 to 3 years. We're going to see in the last line, analysis and interpretation of them. I would like to see the summary of debts. Are they past due? Are they current? Are they in good standing? What are your main providers? Your main financial institutions that you owe money? What are the terms of that loan? Are they short, medium, long term? Are they fixed rate? Fixed rate meaning interest? Well, are they variable? Can we, in commercial, remember, majority of loans are due every 5 years or renegotiable or reinstated at the current rate. So very careful. We have had read many articles that just in this year, more than $600 billion are going to be doing commercial. And guess what? They contracted 5 years ago at 4-5%, and now it's 8 and 8.5%. Do you think they are going to be able to afford the payment of the mortgage plus interest or not? Hey, we have to study those kind of things. Depreciation. Depreciation, we are going to talk about a little bit about accounting now. Depreciation allows the business to spread the cost of a physical asset, such, for instance, machinery, buildings, cars, fleet of cars, for a period of years. Very simple. That is for accounting purposes and tax purposes. You can have depreciation financially speaking, and you have to have depreciation for tax purposes, okay? This is a no cash charge to results or to diminution of profits, okay? There are basically 4 systems or 4 ways to do depreciation. And of course, we're just going to mention them. This is not an accounting class, but one is the straight line, declining balance, sum of the year digits, and finally the units of production. The accountants generally adhere to the general accepted accounting principles to do the depreciation. They just don't take the inspiration of the day and say, oh, hey, let's depreciate the machinery 10% this year. No, you have to follow the general accepted principles of accounting to do such depreciation. Okay, same with amortization. The difference is that depreciation depreciates or diminishes the value of a tangible good, such as a machinery, and amortization is the diminution of the cost of a non-tangible asset, such as, for instance, organization services, organization fees that you pay to the guru marketer or business planner to make your organization. Professional engagements. What kind of contracts do you have with social media, with the machinery, the maintenance of the building, the janitorial, those kind of contracts you want to read. Customer information, we talk about the secret customer. And then finally, the analysis and interpretation of financials. Physical, we talk a little bit about the tax information, etc. Needless to repeat, this is normally how a business for sale is advertised. Okay, very simple, straightforward, nothing to it. And then we are going to dive into some numbers and formulas here. Cap rate is very important to determine the return on your cash or assets. Is very, very easy to determine. Net operating income divided by purchase price. Careful what is included to determine the net operating income. Some realtors are tricky and they don't include utilities, for instance. If you don't include one of these concepts that are here, what happened to your cap rate? The cap rate increases. Cash on cash, very, very easy formula is annual pre-tax cash flow divided by the invested equity. In other words, what is left at the end of the day divided by your invested equity. If you invested 100 down payment and you have 100 and you have $10 left, you have 10% cash on cash. Okay, simple. Another important ratios, as we said, those are the ones that we talk about, but more in detail. Now the inverse. If you want to determine property value, if you have already in mind a 5% cap rate and you have 500,000 of net operating income, your property value is going to be 10 million. Easy, easy. Ratio analysis, digging deeper. Basically, this is analysis and interpretation of financial statements. There are three: liquidity, profitability, and leverage ratios. As you can read here, I will tell you in familiar words. Liquidity is how well the company pays their debts. The profitability, how good the company makes profits. And the ratios of the leverage is how well or how good the standing the company is paying to the debtors, the providers, the bank, financial institutions, the contractors, etc. Another very, 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 very important analysis, financial analysis that we, Kimosabi, have to do is the break-even analysis. There is a graph that explains by itself. You have a number of units. In the X's and the Y's is the sales of dollars. You have at 100,000 is your fixed cost. Fixed cost is the rent. Fixed cost is the expenses that basically don't move that much. And then you have the variable cost. What is variable cost? Electricity. It can be the payroll because you hire temporary employees, etc. And then when you said, okay, here I sell 10,000 units, my sale was 120,000. That is when I do not make money, but I don't have losses. Very important, because from there on, every unit will give you one additional profit. And from here, if you want to really, really go deeper, you can make a sensitivity or sensibility analysis for your client. He's going to be amazed of your knowledge. And that is very simple. For each additional unit, what is the contribution that I will have in profits and how sensitive or sensible my company is to that. And you correlate that with economic situations, with market shifts, etc. Very interesting analysis, a little kind of complicated, but it's very, very good. And it's amazing for your client. Another analysis is the DuPont analysis. And there is 5 hours that I can talk about the DuPont. Let's make a deal, guys. Let's buy the client. Let's buy the business to the client. And as we have seen here, at least 4 people intervene in the DD to buy a warehouse or to buy a multifamily or to buy office building. Okay. Let's go deeper into the multifamily now. And this is a different animal because there is a lot of moving parts. We have the physical multifamily due diligence, the environmental, the appraisal, very important, the appraisal. If the appraisal doesn't come to value, guess what is going to say the bank? There is no way, Jose, I'm going to give you the money. Rent roll and lease audit, very important. I would ask at least for 3 years of rent roll. Why? Because of COVID. COVID lost, a lot of people lost their jobs, and therefore rents are down, even though the rent has been increasing, but sometimes the multifamilies are belly up. Especially, we have to be very careful. There are cities like St. Paul, which has rent control. What is that? That you, landlord, cannot increase more than 3% per year the rent. Oops, you have a problem, Houston, if you didn't see that little detail for your financial forecast. Market report, what are the chips of the market? Are the Gen Zs going to start buying houses or buildings or renting, or what are they going to do? Title report, as we talk about, we want a clear title. And this is the monster that we have to make the DD. This is more than 100 units, and you have to see each and all of them. You have to have your list of windows, cabinets, closets, bathrooms, floors, etc., etc., etc. And obviously, you have to have results. The property, you have to walk through all the 120 apartments. The rent roll we talked last 2-3 years. You have to have a market report, which again is the movement of demographics. Remember, the Gen Zs are already in the market, so we have to talk about them. And then, you know what? I was in a conversation the other day. There is a new generation coming, and I believe they call it the Polars, which is even younger than the Gen Zs. The title, is it cloudy or is it not cloudy? That is the question. And if you are going to have this kind of monster, believe me, you don't want to knock every first of the month. Hello, this is Mary. I came to collect the rent. No, you are going to have a property manager. And you have to wait. What is the value of your time and what are the company fees? They can be very light property managers, meaning just the rents, or they can provide you with any and all possible scenarios that you can even imagine exist, like taking care of the insurance, making the marketing, all the accounting, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, that costs more money. Okay. Letter of intent is the final topic of this session. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Letter of intent is a non-binding document, very important. It's not legal. And it is basically a document that provides to the seller the intention to buy from your client or the intention to rent. You can make a LOI for renting. And in that, you express whatever you want to express. All the contingencies that you can imagine are in the letter of intent. Price, commissions, oops, excuse me, we have to have commissions there. All the contingencies, the inspections, the titles, utility assessments, city permits. Yes, you know what? The city is not going to allow us to have a party room for making events. Well, you know what? Maybe that's a breaker, deal breaker. Repairs. Hey, who's going to make the repairs? Are we going to negotiate? You put that in the letter of intent. And the closing date, you have to have extensions because you never know. It's going to rain when the inspector came and the inspector didn't finish, and then the inspector is going to come in 2 weeks. Well, you have to have that in the letter of intent. Satisfactory financial commitment. Hey, you have to have the cow, guys. No cow, no milk. No milk, no deal. You have to have all the surveys. I have a situation with easement in one property. We have to ask permission to the neighbor, obviously, to have the easement. And he was not in town. We went to close, and it was a tricky situation. And finally, we have the written, everything is in writing in commercial, that yes, you can utilize my portion of the property to cross and go into your property. In writing, thank you very much. We are safe. What about if you say, no, I don't give you permission to cross into my property? What are you going to do if you are a retailer? You are going to have a problem, Houston. So each of these details, my friends, doesn't seem important, but at the end of the day, believe me, it's going to cause headaches, money, stress, and you are the weakest link, and it's because of the realtor didn't tell me. So we have to be extra prepared to make a very, very thorough DD. And this is the only thing that I really want to read because I believe that this is the most important part of the day. Regardless of market conditions, commercial real estate owners, investors, buyers, tenants, or lenders, they should expect more from their due diligence process and their due diligence consultants. That is us. A quality due diligence report, we have to make a report, no? After all this hanky-panky that we have for 2 months, we have to make a report, should maximize the value of the investment by offering any available time or cost saving, important, very key word, solutions and suggesting additional assessments or custom scopes for a more complete understanding of the asset and risk associated with the transaction. Okay, so very, very important, DD. And with this, I say goodbye. Thank you very much for your attention. And I am open to questions if you have any. And if I know the answers, thank you very much again. Fabio, do we have any questions or comments in the chat?
No, not yet. There is no questions. So please, for the participants, if you have questions, any questions, just type those in at the chat, and then we'll go over them. For now, I want to thank Luis for a great presentation, and it's about being prepared. If you have a business in Minneapolis or anywhere in Minnesota, and you want to buy the building that you have, or you want to have a different renting or leasing contract, or finding a different building, so it's really, really important to be prepared. And it's all about these due diligence activities and proper process. Luis has been very, very good at explaining each one of those details. Yes, a lot of details, right, Luis? A lot of details.
And the details is where the devil lives.
Yes, exactly. If for any reason one of those details is overlooked, you could get in trouble. And as Luis mentioned, there might be a lot of money involved and a lot of time and effort wasted just because one of those little details was overlooked. So it's important to be prepared and do the due diligence. For now, I don't see. Okay, I guess I have a question here, Luis. And this says, how does due diligence apply to purchasing commercial use land without building structures?
Very, very interesting question. Because as you know, the definition of real estate, at least what I know in the state of Minnesota, is that when you buy a piece of land, parcel, whatever you want to call it, from that boundaries to the center of the earth is yours automatically. So what I would do is I would hire a geo guy, a guy that knows earth, and make a little analysis of the earth, the dirt, geological guy, and see, God forbids, but what about if there is petroleum or there is water at 30 feet? If there is water at 30 feet, believe me, my friend, you are not going to build a 10-story high multifamily. So you have to do that kind of due diligence. What about if, and I had the opportunity to have the bad experience, now that I remember, thank you for the question. I had a client that wanted to buy a lot to build, he was an architect actually, to build a beautiful 3-unit thing. And then we hired a geologist, and guess what? It was mud after 3 feet. It was a wetland in the back. And the Society of Wetland Protection of the state of Minnesota, guess when they are going to give us the permit to make buildings or construction in that part of the world? Never. So thanks to the due diligence that we did in the land, we were able to say, thank you very much, Mr. Seller, but no, thank you very much. Maybe this is going to be good for a swimming pool, but not for a multifamily and not for a building construction. So yes, you have to also make due diligence, which is obviously applicable to land. And be very careful if you are going to build, because right now, if you want a transformer, it's going to be 14 months delivery. Aluminum, iron, steel, it is 16 months delivery. And in 16 months, believe me, prices are going to be different. So you have to have that into the equation.
Okay. Thank you, Luis. I have another question here. It says, as a potential, let me read this a little bit. Okay, as a potential buyer, what are your recommendations to utilize commercial real estate, a broker, either a financial institution or lenders, or should I do shopping around that? Sometimes brokers have a good relationship with certain lenders.
Yes, as I mentioned before, you have to have a commercial real estate broker or agent, is the same, that is like a supermarket. I mentioned supermarket has vegetables, fruit, toilet paper, it has meat, it has the dairy products, it has ice cream, chocolates, cereals, etc. A good seasoned commercial realtor has to have great, not good, great relationships with financial institutions. For instance, if you are going to buy with ITIN, well, guess what? There are banks, no mention names, there are banks that do not make loans with ITIN. Well, the realtor has to have a very good relationship with the bank that produces loans with ITIN. The same with inspectors, city inspectors or private inspectors. I was commenting, we have even locators. We have structural engineers, geologists. We have those kind of people, commercial real estate lawyers, and you have to hire a person that has this array or this army of allies. Why? Because they, in one telephone call of distance, they can get together with a lawyer, with an engineer, with an architect, with a designer, with a person that is going to be the specifics to your needs. So if you, very respectful, if you hire or contract a residential, believe me, he's not going to know anything about environmental issues. So you have to go with the professional that has all these relationships and ask questions. You know, hey, how many years have you been in doing commercial? How many banks can you offer me? Remember the beautiful word steering? We realtors are forbidden to steer our clients. So if I am going to provide you with engineer, I have to give you 2 or 3, and you have to study them, you have to analyze them, you have to see their bios, and you choose. And it's not going to hurt my feelings. A, B, or C is perfect choice. If you have another one, allow you. I'm not jealous, but I am not going to say you have to hire Johnny because Johnny is the best engineer in town. And that's steering, you know? So yeah, I have to have 3 of each so you can make your choices. And yes, that is the name of the game, no? Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions.
Okay, thank you, Luis. I have another question here.
I'm afraid.
Well, no, this is good.
Tengo miedo.
Let's see. My buyer got a townhome in November of 2022. He's got a letter from the homeowners association requesting him to pay $16,000 for a hail damage that occurred back in May of 2022. Nothing was disclosed, and the question is, do the seller is responsible for this payment, or is the buyer?
Without knowing where it is, what exactly happened, and the rules and regulations of the HOA, I really cannot tell you the answer. My best advice or suggestion is to go to the residential realtor that help you with the deal or help that person with the deal and double check the regulations, articles, etc. of the HOA. Also talk to your insurance company to see if in that event was covered by whom, you know? So it's a matter of digging in and ask questions to both parties, your insurance and the HOA, and obviously the insurance of the HOA.
Okay. All right. But in this case, Luis, if you bought the property and they're charging you for something that happened months before that, really, I mean, are there codes or clauses that refer to that in the contract, or you need to go and read the contract, I guess, right?
Yeah, they are trying to pull your leg. And I will ask first. I will ask questions, and then if the answers are not satisfactory, guess what I will do at the next step? I will hire a real estate lawyer.
Yeah,
that's I think the best route.
Right.
The shortest
the legal side of things.
Get A and B together. Yeah.
All right. And I do have one more question. I know that we're going a little bit farther than the time that we used.
Now people are starting to warm up.
Yes, we don't want to leave anybody without answering their questions. So if you can hang on for a little
Hey,
couple
I
more
have all
minutes.
day, guys. No problem.
All right. So it says this, not being a tax professional, we are concerned about the tax negatives and positives of purchasing commercial property versus renting. We hear both sides. What do you recommend for small businesses who may go out of business in a few years or sell their businesses? And actually, you know, before you answer that, Luis, I just want to remind everybody that one of our topics in the series is about minimizing legal taxes. And I think that is coming later on the year. So I would like to invite everybody to participate on that one. It's going to be a lot of information about the process and, you know, what to do to legally minimize your tax burden. But in this case, in this question, Luis, he's trying to compare commercial purchasing versus renting, and what would be the outcome or the impact for the tax burden, and what would be your recommendation for a small business that could go out of business soon, or they will be selling their business?
Yeah. The next webinar is going to be renting, and the following webinar is going to be buying. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to participate in both, so you will have a deeper knowledge of these two topics. What I can tell you right now is as follows. First of all, make an in-depth inventory of what exactly you want. If you want short-term or you want long-term. Meaning, short-term is, as you are mentioning, what about if my business goes belly up? Well, then I want to go rent. In rent, yes, you are going to be tied for 3 years, but after 3 years, you can say, thank you very much, bye-bye. You can even have exculpatory or exculpatory clause. We're going to see that if the business goes down for acts of God or non-major. You can have other avenues. I don't want to use the word break, but to get out of the lease. The investment, obviously, is much less because you are just going to have the month in advance, the month of deposit, and very, very good negotiation with, remember, the TI, the free cash. And also there are programs that can loan you money for conditioning your business, okay? Bottom line, you are going to end up spending less money if you are going to go that approach. Therefore, your net operating income is going to increase, your cash on cash is going to increase, but at the end of the day, you are not building assets. This property is not appreciating, which is the side of the purchase. In the side of the purchase, yes, you have to have quite more money because at least, as I mentioned, there is a program 5% for multifamilies. If you are Social Security, there is SBA with 10%. And there is in Minneapolis very interesting programs that we're going to talk about, 2% interest, 40 years. And City Help, I'm going to meet with a banker for business loans, how they work, etc. So all these things you have to consider if you're going to buy. But again, you have to have the money in order to satisfy the requirements of the banker. God forbids, what about if you need more inspections and the banker demands the environmental? Phase 1 costs you $3,000 and phase 2, $7,000 to $10,000. We have, and don't fall down the chair, we have a transaction right now as we speak in Wisconsin. It's a 100-acre land. And the state and the banker demanded a mitigation system because phase 1 and phase 2 came bad. Guess how much is the mitigation system? $1.3 million. Who is going to pay that? The buyer? Say, no, I want my land free and clean. And the seller says, what I'm going to make this kind of system to pay this kind of system if I'm going to leave. So I'm going to leave it to you. So we have been negotiating for 2 months, just to give an idea. Again, those are the worst case scenario, no? But again, coming back to center, buying needs a lot of money, but it's yours. And you can also turn around and sell it again. Another thing in detriment to rent, remember the real estate principle? Everything that is fixed to the wall or to the floor stays in the property when you leave. If it's a restaurant, the hood, my friend, it will stay. And the hood might cost you $100,000. So those are the things to consider. Whereas if you are the owner, that is yours. And you can sell it, the property with the hood, or you can rent it with the hood, and it's a little bit more income for you. So again, it depends upon where you are today financially and what are your goals, medium and long term. Immediate, no, because the rent is 3 years. Okay, so make your financial analysis, your projections, and what if kind of analysis. Go to your accountant, to your tax guy, and ask for help to make a financial forecast in both scenarios. And again, how much money you have. If you have $300,000 cash, I highly recommend you to buy. But if you have $30,000 cash, well, maybe rent is an option, you know?
Okay. Okay, thank you, Luis. I think we have reached the maximum time that we could go with this. Thank you so much for all the material, all the information that you provided us with today. And thank you to all the participants. And again, one more time, just invite everybody to participate on the other sessions. At the end of the whole series, we will have a kind of a lunch type of event so we can all get together and finish this series. Thank you so much for your participation. Stay tuned with our schedule. Take a look at our website and you'll find this recording in a couple of days uploaded there. And some other resources or some other of the sessions that we had in the past with Luis. Thank you so much for your participation and have a great day, all right?
Yeah, Fabio, just to remind everybody, the 16th is going to be in Spanish, and there are 14 webinars already uploaded in the website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.